Hello, everyone. We are back, and we are here with Amanda Goldberg. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. So can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Amanda Goldberg. I'm the new artistic producer of SKIRTSAFIRE, and I've been in Edmonton for a little over 3 years, and I'm originally from Montreal. I'm originally mostly a director, and yeah, this is my first year in this position.
Oh, and so what is SKIRTSAFIRE for people who don't know?
Yeah, so SKIRTSAFIRE is a theater and multidisciplinary arts festival that happens every year around International Women's Day, and it features the work of women.
That is very cool. And so does the name SKIRTSAFIRE have any meaning behind it?
Unfortunately, this isn't a fun answer. There's no like cool anecdote about it. When I asked one of the founders, the current artistic director, she kind of just said it was one of those nights where they were all trying to figure out a name, wrote a list, and SKIRTSAFIRE won the competition. So yeah, there's not really a rhyme or reason, but it's SKIRTSAFIRE, and yeah, it's just come to be that name. Yeah.
I mean, it's a fun name. It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I think so.
And so do you know why it was created?
Yeah, so it was created to kind of disrupt or acknowledge the disparity of women in theater and the arts. So all the way from women not having equal representation in characters and performance to women in leadership roles. When we look at the landscape of women leaders in Edmonton, it's very sparse. So it was originally created as a way to build work for women by women, and to uplift those voices and give opportunities to all the amazing women artists in this city who don't have those opportunities. And over the years, it's expanded to now include any non-binary artists who are comfortable in women-centered spaces.
That's very beautiful. I think it is something that's kind of like looked kind of shied away from. But yeah, I think women in this industry don't get enough credit for sure.
Absolutely.
And so do you know how long SKIRTSAFIRE has been running?
Yeah, so it was created in 2012, so it's been 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I was like, oh, so 10 years. No, been 12.
Yeah.
And so how long does the festival run this year?
The festival runs February 29th, which is Leap Day, to March 10th, so it's an 11-day festival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so how does one go about buying the tickets?
You can buy tickets online at skirtsafire.com. We also use Fringe Theater Adventures box office, so you can contact them by their number that I don't have memorized.
Okay, we'll put on the screen.
Yeah, right here. You can call them right here, or go to their website. We have some pay what you can performances, and we have pay what you can tickets for all of our programming. So we try and keep it as accessible as we can. And yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to answer.
What can people expect when coming to SKIRTSAFIRE for the first time?
I'd hope that people could expect to be surprised by the variety and diversity of art forms that are being celebrated at the festival. I mean, when we say multidisciplinary, we mean it. We have performances from theater has always been the thrust of the festival, and it'll always be at the heart, but over the years, we've incorporated more forms of storytelling, from dance to poetry to new work to aerial types of performance to clown. What I love about the festival, and I think what people can expect and would be excited by, is to know that we have so many different forms of storytelling and so many different stories of women artists from all different kinds of backgrounds.
And what performances do you have going on this year?
So that's a very big question because it's a 10-day festival. I think we have about 10 different programs going on. Many of those shows, for example, like Mermaid Legs, which is the main stage show, the world premiere of Mermaid Legs by Beth Graham, that show is happening during the whole festival. So you'll have tons of opportunities to see it. And then we have shows like a show that's happening here called Comedy Night, which is a variety show of comedy performances. And that's only happening one night. It's happening on March 9th. A lot of different shows. I can kind of give you a little rundown of, we're in 2 new venues this year. So the first venue, which we're starting off the festival in on February 29th, is Walterdale Theatre in the heart of Old Strathcona. And there we're going to have our A-Line variety show, which is always the opening night of the festival. And that show celebrates the multidisciplinarity of the festival. So we have performances from comedy to dance to aerial to music. After that, in the Walterdale, we have the Shoe Project, which is a national initiative that that SKIRTSAFIRE has been doing for the past couple of years, and it's stories of immigrant and refugee women. And then after that, in Walterdale, we have our Indigenous programming, which is being curated by Connie LeGrande, and she's collaborating with her daughter to create this piece called Nihio Ngamawena, and it's a show about language revitalization and about the Cree language, and it's done through music and dance and design, and it's going to be really exciting. Then we have kind of one show that's happening in Westbury in the Arts Barn, and that is Speaking Vibrations. That's a show that's coming all the way from Ontario, and has been a year and a half in the making of bringing them here. We're in partnership with Sound Off, which is the deaf festival here in Edmonton, and it's a show created in partnership of hearing and deaf artists, and it's a show about communication. It's about 4 women. It's going to be beautiful, and it's done through ASL, poetry, dance. It's completely accessible to deaf, hard of hearing audiences, as well as hearing audiences, as well as deaf blind audiences. So we're really, really excited. There's only 3 chances to see that show. And then we have another new venue is here at La Cité Francophone, and that will be for the second week of our festival. We have a lot of our variety programming here. So we start off with Off the Page, which is our way of supporting the new work development in our festival. So it's basically pieces that are just off the page, but this year we have 2 exciting kind of more immersive performances part of it, so we're really excited for that. And then we have Embodiment, which completely sold out last year, so we added another performance of it, and that's our diverse movement programming. So we have movement from, a little bit more traditional Eurocentric dancing, like a type of ballet, to South Indian traditional dancing, to aerial, we have a circus performer this year. So that's a really exciting thing that's happening here. And then the other shows in the festival that are one-offs, we have our show at Holy Trinity Church. We have a guest band. The band this year is Lilith Fair Revival Band, and what they do at the church is we have 3 women's choirs come in and each do kind of a set. The band also does a set, and then at the end, the band sings with all the choirs and performs with all the choirs, and it's really beautiful. It's in the sanctuary. It's kind of like a really remarkable, stunning performance. And so that's one night only. And then we have our Key of Me programming, which is local singer-songwriters performing at Chianti. And we have one that's just a more individual singer-songwriters doing their own sets for 30 minutes, and then we have one that's a song circle, so 3 local musicians kind of collaborating in a little bit more of an intimate performance. We also have Poetry on the Ave, which this year we hired a poet who has created 3, maybe potentially more, poems around our theme of the festival this year, which is Lost and Found. And she's created these poems so that they can be interactive by using this form called blackout poetry. So audiences are going to be able to go and kind of black out the poem to create their own poem or reveal the poem underneath. So yeah, again, it just in a celebration of kind of all the different multidisciplinarity that happens at the festival. We have really a little bit of everything. I really hope I'm not forgetting anything because I'll feel terrible. But I think that is everything that's happening.
So you have something for literally everyone around Edmonton.
Yeah, we'd like to hope so. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, I knew you guys were doing, like, what you were doing was very creative and very big, but I didn't realize it hit as many different types of, like, categories of people, if you will.
Yeah, and I think that's such the beauty of the festival, is that, like, it really shows, like, women artists in all these different forms, like, in all these different, so many talented people who don't get to showcase their work. I think at SKIRTSAFIRE we try and just say, like, you can do it all.
Yeah. And so is there like a calendar or something that people can kind of look at to kind of see all of that?
Yeah, so we have an interactive calendar on our website at skirtsafire.com, and it has everything listed.
And so if you were to get you get a ticket for a day, I'm guessing, kind of thing?
No, it's per program. It's per show. However, we do have festival passes, which are a great deal. So you can get for 3 shows, for 5 shows, and then for unlimited. And so they're a special price. I think the discounts are like, you save $50 or you save $60 or you save $100 if you get, and they just give you unlimited access, or you get to pick 3 shows. So yeah, I highly recommend checking those out. Those are also available on our website.
You obviously do a lot. What would you say is the most difficult aspect of your job?
I think the most difficult aspect of my job is definitely like a lot of the things that are behind the scenes. And it's really nothing to do with the artistic community here. It's everything to do with convincing the rest of the world that we're important. Yeah. So a lot of artists say, we acknowledge we're not brain surgeons, we don't save lives, but something that is said around a lot is like, we make life bearable. And I think that's really important, especially coming out of the pandemic, but always, it's always been, and there's just not enough value put on the work we do. And so we, and anyone who's in an artistic leadership position, I think can resonate with this. It's our job is to kind of convince people that we're worth it, instead of people just understanding that, like, we need this to do the work. And as our festival has gotten bigger and as we strive to do better things, like this year we're incorporating a lot of accessibility in our festival because we have gotten to work with artists in the disabled community who are amazing artists and deserve to be seen. So we're trying to remove barriers for them so that we can grow with them. And we shouldn't have to convince people that that is worthy. Like, I think we continue to expand and continue to do better, and money doesn't go as far as it used to, and yet that's what we're given. So I think it's definitely the hardest part and the most frustrating part of this job is just knowing that we can't. We always have to face reality, and unfortunately reality a lot of the time is money, and that sucks because no one is in this industry to make money. We're all here because we love to do it, and I wish people understood more. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think people in the arts overall get a bad rep. And I don't know why. I have nothing to do with the arts. I love it though, but I'm just like not talented in that aspect. But like even I think about it, I'm like I could not go a day without listening to music or like watching TV.
Right.
And like people are just out here being like it's not important or you don't need money for that. Why are we funding that? But it is like.
Yeah, and we look at the outside world and we say there are horrible things happening in the world right now. There are tragedies, and money has to be put into saving lives and into protecting people who are in vulnerable positions. But one thing that art has always done beautifully is like reflect the world around us and give space and community for people to process what's going on or escape it. Like it depends what you kind of want to see or what you engage with, but that's what TV is for, that's what music is for, that's what theater is for. And so I think I think it holds deep value, and until kind of the rest of society is willing to acknowledge that, we're kind of fighting on our own.
For sure. And so kind of on the more positive side of that, what would you say is the most rewarding part of your job?
Yeah. The most rewarding part is definitely giving opportunities to women, to empowering women to be able to do their best work, to being able to allow them to see themselves in a different light and to be celebrated, and to give kind of, it's a different thing to be able to give kind of unconditional support, to hire artists and say, we believe in you and try it out. Like I especially when programming, a lot of the work that I look to curate and to kind of balance is a balance of bringing in professionals who have been doing this for years and celebrating their work. But we always try and encourage emerging artists to come and join us in the festival. And we take those chances knowing that there is risk, but there's also, if we're not going to do it, they are not going to have the opportunities to grow. And so to see people come in and feel welcome and feel like a sense of belonging is a really rewarding and makes it all worth it and worth fighting for.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see how you would go home and feel good about yourself after that, for sure. And so where do you hope to see SKIRTSAFIRE in the next 5 years?
SKIRTSAFIRE has been growing for the past couple of years, and I see that growth continuing. The very boring answer to this is I really hope to see SKIRTSAFIRE in a place of financial sustainability, so not relying on project grants, not relying from year to year, not knowing what we're going to do because we're relying on specific grants to come through, upping our operational funding and having some kind of long-term sponsorship so that we know that every year we're able to put on specific programming. I think it wouldn't only improve the festival, it would improve the morale, and it would help our team. You know, we're a very small team, but to be able to have that kind of support would take a lot of stress off. So I really hope that for the festival, that's a big part of it. And then I would really like to see SKIRTSAFIRE kind of getting the recognition I think it deserves outside of Edmonton. So I'd love there to be some kind of collaboration in another province. And I think that's also to do with sustainability of the work we do. You know, we put so much work into building a production, from labor to money to everything. Like, it's just, we throw it all in, and then the show opens, and then it runs for 10 days or 12 days, and then it lives in people's memories and in people's experiences, but a lot of it goes into the garbage. Like, and I just feel like that's a problem with kind of how theater is built in our industry, and we do need to address that on an environmental level, but also on a level that I think will support us for a more sustainable future. So I'd love to see some of our programming continue somewhere else, where whatever that means, if that's in partnership, if that's a tour. I'd love to see shows, I mean, for lack of better words, not die at the festival. I'd love to see them have a bigger life.
That's very interesting that you say that, because I've never thought of it like that, but you're right. Like, after the festival, you guys have worked months and months for this, sometimes over a year, and you have nothing to show for it, because like you said, there's like the memories that live on and the pictures, but yeah, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And then my last question for you is going to be, what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
There's so many different thoughts running through my mind. I'll connect it to the festival or to the industry in general. I think the best piece of advice I've ever been given as an artist or as an aspiring arts leader is to never have to beg for a seat at the table, because if there isn't one, you can build your own, and your people will come.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Yeah, thanks.
Hello, everyone. We are here with Ainsley Hillyard. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I am working on a show called Mermaid Legs, which is being written by Beth Graham, and it will be performed at SKIRTSAFIRE Festival.
Very cool. And so what inspired you to get into choreography?
I have been dancing from a very young age. Probably I was like 3 years old, and I always loved it. And my sister and I would choreograph entire dance routines to like the Little Mermaid soundtrack. And even though I loved dancing and like physically, existing in the world, the creation part of it was really interesting to me. And even from an early age, I was like, oh, but Alexis, my sister, if you just stand over there, like, I think it would be better. Or like, oh, if you just like did it slower, it'd be more like Ariel actually coming out of the water, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, just like the actual creation of a story or a language through movement has always really captivated me.
How long have you been doing it kind of professionally?
How long has it been? Pretty much choreographing for theater, I would say I've been doing for the last 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Since I graduated from my post-secondary training in Winnipeg in contemporary dance. I came back to Edmonton, and Edmonton is a huge theater town, and it allowed me to expand my interest in movement and dancing into that form. So I very quickly kind of got into theater, movement, storytelling, and that was about 15 years ago. So.
Oh, wow, that's actually amazing. And so do you kind of stick with a specific genre of dance, or do you kind of get inspiration from?
Yeah, all of my training is in contemporary dance, and growing up, I had a bit of ballet, musical theater, but all of my post-secondary, all of my knowledge base and physical knowledge base is in contemporary dance.
Okay. And so how do you develop kind of your own style as being a choreographer?
Yeah, I think it takes time. And honestly, just speaking about starting this kind of work, doing choreography for theater 15 years ago, I'm not sure I knew what my style was for the first 5 to 7 years of that. And like anything, it's something that you develop over time, things that reemerge in your work or the way that you approach the work are indicators kind of where you're going and what your brand is.
For sure. And so what would you kind of say your brand is?
Well, I think specifically working in theater is something that I'm known for, at least in the dance community. I do really love storytelling through movement. I also am very good with creating environmental landscapes or creating images or characters with dancers' bodies that aren't necessarily human or recognizable. So creating waves on a beach or animals in a forest is, and, transforming physical bodies into something else is something that I think that I'm good at.
I mean, it sounds like it if you've been doing it for that long. So what do you think are the key elements to being successful in a career like this?
I think that you have to really love the craft. There's not a lot of benefits in terms of like regular life, like healthcare or pensions or whatever. So you really have to love what you do, and you have to love the people that you're doing it with, and you really have to take care of yourself in a major way.
For sure. And so how do you get your dancers motivated, and how do you yourself stay motivated?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And for me, I find in any kind of art making practice, the motivation really comes from being a team and giving my dancers and performers agency, and also the ability to choose and have input in the choreography, the end result, so that we're all working together towards the same goal, and there isn't necessarily a hierarchy of choreographer dancer, but just like somebody who's looking at it from the outside and somebody who's doing it physically on the inside, but we all have the same intention and the same goal.
That is very cool. I've never heard anyone kind of describe it like as a team more so, and not of like, I'm teaching you this, you need to learn it. And so do you have a favorite performance you've choreographed?
Ooh, a favorite performance I've choreographed. They're all my favorites. They're all just fun and different, and being with different people at different times and telling new stories. They're all vastly different from one another, and they all challenge me in very different ways. And I think the variation is my favorite thing.
And so coming back to SKIRTSAFIRE, is this your first year choreographing with them?
It is.
Ooh, and how are you liking that so far?
It's really nice. Yeah, it's a really nice room. It's a good group of people. I've been coming to the festival for years, just as a patron. I did a small performance at one of the poetry readings. I danced for one of the poets, and I had a great experience as an artist. So it's a really lovely festival, and I think a great part of Edmonton's artistic infrastructure. So I'm super thrilled to be a part of it and to support it in this way this year.
And so how long have you been working on this specific project for it?
This specific project, we started the development of it about a year and a half ago, I think. Essentially myself and Beth, the writer, and Annette, the director, got together and started talking about it before we even had a script, before we were going to write grants, before we were planning out rehearsals.
Oh, wow.
To just, start at the ground up base level. So the three of us have been entrenched in it for over a year, and we just started actually getting into concentrated rehearsals 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
We've had a few workshops of it over the last year, 3 days at a time with a couple of dancers or actors, just so we could read the play or try some movement things. But the actual setting of the work started about 3 weeks ago.
I mean, I know nothing, absolutely nothing about choreography, but that seems very close to the show. Is it usually that?
Yeah, it's usually, I won't pretend to know how everything in theater and dance works, but I think it tends to be rehearsals will lead right up to the show, just in terms of being economical about rehearsal space, and also the people that are doing the performance learning what it is and then going on to perform right away means that there's no gap in time, so they won't forget anything.
Okay.
So even though it seems terrifying, it actually works out.
Yeah, it does seem terrifying. I don't know if I could be ready for that.
Yeah.
But, is there a certain aspect of the project you're looking kind of most forward to, or you're most proud of?
I think, what am I looking the most forward to? I'm really looking forward to opening night. I think we've all done some really amazing, immaculate work towards this. It's been super collaborative, so we feel like a real team. And I'm very excited to show that to the world.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a hit for sure. What does the process look like when you're first getting the job to kind of when you're starting to perform it?
Yeah. So usually I will, this process has been a little bit different, which is quite beautiful and quite a gift. So typically as a choreographer working in theater, I'll get asked to do the project, and then I will get a script, and then I might have a meeting with the director to just talk about what they're envisioning for movement in the play. Sometimes that doesn't happen. And then I show up and start choreographing. But for this project, which is really, really special as a choreographer, I've been brought in from the very, very beginning. So I was part of the script writing workshops, and I was part of the grant writing to say, oh, we need this many dancers and these kind of things. And I was part of all of the workshops and the rewrites on the script. I was part of the audition process. So making sure that we had actors and performers that were comfortable with movement, which doesn't always happen. So it was a really special gift to be trusted with that and brought into the process so early on.
Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like a lot of choreographers might not be able to get the insight that you did.
It's true.
And so what would you say is the most kind of challenging aspect of your job?
The most challenging thing, I think the most challenging thing is managing people's energy. So we are, experimenting and creating, and we are doing things over and over again, a little bit differently every time. And with dancers, you're exerting quite a lot of physical energy. So I think a challenge that I'm very willing to take on for my performers is to just make sure that we are experimenting, we are playing, we are able to change and shift and adapt and not tax ourselves too much physically so that we can still make it to the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the other side of that, what would you say is the most rewarding part of your job?
I think the most rewarding part of the job for me are those moments in rehearsal where everybody knows that it's the right choice, where we collectively create something and we do it and everybody goes, that's it. And we've come to it together, and it just feels like such a relief and also a celebration that we found it. We found what it was. There it is. We have it.
And so do you have like a dream choreography job or someone you'd really like to work with?
Wow, yeah. I mean, I think my dream choreography job is to just keep doing this forever. Yeah, because that doesn't always happen either. And there's so many people to idolize in Canada and around the world. But I'll just say that my dream would be to keep doing this until I retire.
And then my last question for you, it doesn't need to do anything specific towards choreographing, but what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
The best piece of advice that I've received throughout my life. If they can't take a joke. That's real.
I love that. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you very much.
My name is Dayna Lee Hoffmann.
And can you tell us a bit about yourself?
I am an actor living in Edmonton, Amiskatchewan, Weskaigan, and I have been acting for a long time. I'm a recent graduate of the University of Alberta. My primary practice is in acting, but I do call myself a multidisciplinary artist. I do a lot of clown, I produce my own shows, generally devising, dancing, moving, physical theater work.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
So what is your performance in the festival this year?
My performance in SKIRTSAFIRE this year is Billie in Mermaid Legs.
Very fun. And how would you describe your style of art?
My style of art, what I've focused on for the last few years of my very emerging career is the femme body in comedic forms. This ties in quite well because SKIRTSAFIRE is a femme-led festival, so I love that about it. Less comedy in this particular performance, but that's something that I find we need when there is a lot of that darkness and the stuff that just gets people, the sad stuff.
For sure. And is this your first year here?
With Skirts of Fire?
Yes.
This is I did something last year. Last year I presented it was co-written, just a neo-Buffon monologue about Generation Z and our relationship with technology. It was called The Radical Re-Education of Generation Z, Internet Hygiene, and Being AFK. That was my very first foray into Skirts of Fire, and I loved it. That show went on to do more at another festival, and yeah, so this is my second year now.
That is very cool, and I'm guessing from what you're saying, you love it.
Yes, the festival has always been really amazing. I only got to see it for the first time last year, but the energy that it brings around to the communities here is just infectious.
And so how do you get ready for a show?
For a show, I often start by meditating, and then I warm my body, and then I warm my voice. All of those are super important, and I usually, depending on the theater or the space that we're in, I kind of get a ritual going. So I'll do meditation in the same place every time. I'll do my warm-up in the same place, and then maybe I'll watch my show while I warm my voice and do my makeup, or just something to like bring me to a level-headed place.
For sure. And so how long would you say that takes?
Oh my gosh. Sometimes it can be like 3 hours, depending on the show. But most times it's like an hour and a half. With this show, I think it'll probably be a little more. It's a lot. I gotta warm.
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
The most rewarding part of my job is the community. Like being in a rehearsal space with other people, with other women and femme people, non-binary people. That is what I love specifically about this room. But any kind of room that you're in, any rehearsal process that you're in, my go-to thing is just being with the people.
And then my last question for you is going to be, what's the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
The best piece of advice I've ever received in my life would have to be from a movement teacher I worked with when I first started going to theater school. It was go further, but don't go so far as that you don't know how to get back.
Oh,
yeah.
That one really makes you think.
Yeah, it's like go to the very edge, but still return.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you. Mermaid Legs runs from March 1st to March 10th, and there is a preview on February 29th.
My name's Ellie Heath. I am a multidisciplinary artist in Edmonton, Alberta, and I will be hosting the A-Line variety show at SKIRTSAFIRE.
Very fun. And so when did you first hear about SKIRTSAFIRE?
Oh my goodness. I heard about SKIRTSAFIRE ages ago. I feel like probably the first year that SKIRTSAFIRE started. I've been involved in the festival for many, many years now and have like a pretty long history, although I can't pinpoint the exact date. But I want to say like more than 10 years ago for sure.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so have you hosted before?
I have hosted the A-Line variety show. The year that we did it, I think it was 2 years ago that we hosted. It was myself and the sketch comedy troupe that I'm a part of, Girl Brain. So we co-hosted and we performed at the A-Line variety show a couple years ago.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And so for someone who hasn't been here and doesn't know what the A-Line show is, can you kind of talk a bit about it?
Absolutely, yeah. So the A-Line variety show is a variety show within the festival that highlights artists from different disciplines. It's super, it's just super diverse in terms of what you can expect to see when you come to the event. And there's going to be lots of exciting stuff this year at the A-Line variety show. So singer-songwriters, taiko drummers. I just saw an aerial artist in there that's doing tech for tomorrow night. So I'm super excited. I feel like going to meet lots of new artists and people, and that's sort of the point of the A-Line. Yeah.
For sure. And my last question for you is going to be, what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
That's so funny. Somebody asked me this recently, and I said to them, my dad always used to say to me, you don't ask, you don't get, and that's something that's been sort of a guiding principle in my life. If you want something, you got to go out and ask for it. And really good advice.
For sure. Thank you so much, Ellie.
Thank you.
My name is Anna Pratch. I am a physical performer, and I am here with my piece, Gemini Season. Gemini Season is a dance theater clown piece that was developed through the Play the Fool Festival as a rookie cabaret piece, and I'm super excited to be bringing it to SKIRTSAFIRE now.
That is very cool. I just learned like the clowning performance. I thought it was like an actual clown. That's so exciting. I'm so excited to see it. And so how would you describe your style as an artist?
I'm definitely very physical with how I express myself. Actually, my goal for this piece when I brought it to the Rookie Cabaret was to learn how to speak on stage. That was something I'd never done before. So that was really the challenge I was pushing for. So yeah, definitely physical movement, new to the more verbal theatrical part.
Wow, good for you. Just putting yourself out there like that. And so is this your first year at the festival?
This is my first SKIRTSAFIRE.
So how are you feeling about that? That's a big deal.
I'm really excited. This is super awesome. I've seen so many SKIRTSAFIREs. I've always been thrilled to have it in the city. I'm really excited to finally be a part of it as a performer.
And so how do you kind of get ready for one of your shows?
Hair and makeup has definitely been a big part of this character. We're head to toe hot pink here, so it definitely helps me kind of fill into that energy, and also even just having the ritual space of setting up, laying everything out, really helps get into that headspace.
And so what would you say is the most difficult aspect of performing?
The biggest challenge with this piece for me has been actually toning down my movement. Otherwise, all of my nervous reactions come out as physical movement, and then the audience just doesn't read any of what's happening. And so really calming down so I can be present has definitely been a big challenge, but a really fun and exciting one. Like it's made a big difference working on that for sure.
And so on the other side of that, what would you say is the most rewarding aspect of performing?
Making magic. Like literally making something on stage, making people have feelings is a super cool experience to have.
That is very cool, and not a lot of people can do that, so pat yourself on the back for that.
I don't know if I'm successful at it, but it's definitely a cool part.
And so my last question for you is, what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
Piece of advice is so specific. I would generalize them into revolutionary conversations that I've had. And with really cool people, I am so fortunate to have so many cool mentors. And I would say they probably mostly boil down to trusting yourself. Trusting yourself as an artist, trusting yourself with what you're bringing to the world, to the audience. Yeah, that's been a big one.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us. Break a leg.
Thank you.
Caylie G.
And can you tell us a bit about yourself, Caylie?
Yeah, I am a solo artist, musician. I sing sad cowboy pop. I also am in a band, an indie pop band called Waffelhouse. Yeah.
And so when did you kind of start singing?
When I was in kindergarten, my parents put me in flute lessons and realized very quickly that I could not sing and play the flute at the same time. So then they put me in guitar lessons, and then I kind of started, I think in like grade 2, singing little songs and playing guitar. Not seriously, probably seriously, like around town when I was 13 or 14.
I mean, that is still like very young to be seriously like being a musician, which is pretty cool.
Thank you.
And so is this your first festival as like a band and as a solo artist?
We played at Waffelhouse, my band, played Taste of Calgary this summer. I think this is my first festival, I think. My brain feels so shut off right now. No, I think it is. It is my first festival. Yeah, so second one with the band, I guess, and then first one just me all by myself.
That is very cool. How are you feeling kind of about this experience?
I am feeling very excited, very honored to be here, and excited and a little bit nervous, of course, because, you know, of course. But I'm feeling good and excited and very happy to be here.
And so before your shows, do you have any how do you kind of prepare for it?
Ooh. It kind of depends on the show. I usually listen to like some kind of pop music that is just like, usually it's Katy Perry. Most of the time I like scream Katy Perry, and that gets me in the mood to sing or perform or whatever. That's kind of like my ritual, I feel. Yeah, Katy Perry.
I love that. What a good ritual.
Thank you.
And what would you say is the most like difficult aspect of performing?
Ooh, I think imposter syndrome is so real. I feel like the Edmonton music community especially is so beautiful and vibrant and welcoming. And it's really hard just to be a performer and an artist and not get sucked into feeling like you're comparing yourself to others. I feel like that's the hardest part, but I'm learning, I'm growing.
And so on the flip side of that, what is like the most rewarding part of performing?
Ooh, probably the people that you meet and connect with, I think. I think that music has a really beautiful way of bringing people together that otherwise wouldn't. I'm a queer artist, and I feel like especially I've met some really lovely queer folks that I don't think I would have if I hadn't been a music lover and listener and also artist. Yeah.
And so what can people expect to kind of feel and see when you're performing and Waffelhouse is performing?
Ooh, well, my Caylie G stuff and my Waffelhouse stuff is quite different. Normally, if you're listening to my sad cowboy pop, it's a quite sad, like 90% of the time, like very, like kind of like Phoebe Bridgers reminiscent.
Oh, I love.
Thank you. Thank you. Waffelhouse is kind of the exact opposite. We have one sad song that really gets people, but then the rest is like lighthearted and dancey and bouncy and fun, and I really love that, being able to kind of be part of both. I think that that's really rewarding and cool.
You're like Hannah Montana, best of both
Thank
worlds.
you. Yeah, exactly. I feel like Hannah Montana.
And so my last question for you is, what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
One time, Jessie Reyes told me to fail faster, and I think that that is so lovely. She said, just do the things that you want to do, be bad at them in the beginning, and be bad at them until you're good at them, and just make mistakes, and we're all here to learn, and we're all here to grow, and it's not a competition, and the quicker you get out of your own way, the quicker you feel better about what you're doing.
For sure, because I think a lot of people kind of prolong that. They kind of know where they're going to quote-unquote fail.
Yeah.
And so they prolong it so they see it in the future. But if you get it done and over with, like, you can only go up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Cheyenne Rain LeGrande.
And can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm a Nihio Isku artist from Big Stone Cree Nation. My main practice is performance art. I also work in installation, photography, and fashion. I'm performing a Cree performance with my mother. I'm actually going to get her to pronounce it. I'm still learning the Cree language, but my mom is a fluent Cree speaker.
Nihio Negamuana.
Nihio Negamuna is our show.
And so what can people expect from your show?
There's a performance where I am moving and dancing with a syllabic tab shawl and moccasin platform shoes. And there's also a projection of my land back home. That's kind of the beginning of the show, and then me and my mom will perform together as well, and I'll sing with her, and my mom's going to be singing her album. That's a Cree album. It's really beautiful, and it's going to be Medicine.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. And so is this your first time at SKIRTSAFIRE Festival?
It is, yes. Yeah.
And sorry, how about your mom? Is it her first time?
It
as
is,
well?
yeah. I do believe so.
That's so exciting. So you guys get to do it together.
Yeah.
Oh, that must be really special.
It is. It feels very special. I've always looked up and been so inspired by my mom, so to get to perform with her in a theater is like very exciting.
That is very exciting. And so is there any kind of rituals or stuff you do beforehand to kind of get ready for a show?
Yeah, often I pray and I smudge and I ask my ancestors to be with me. When I perform, I don't perform alone, so those are some of the things that I do.
What would you say is the most difficult aspect about performing?
I think the vulnerability is sometimes difficult, but that's always, I don't know, there's so much beauty and that comes out of vulnerability as well. So yeah, I think that's.
Yeah, you can kind of tap into somebody else's emotion when they're a bit more vulnerable. And so on the opposite side of that, what would you say is the most rewarding part of performing?
I think for me, it's getting to share my art with the world and to share love. I think that's like one of my main goals with my work is for people to feel like joy and love when they see my work.
And so when did you kind of notice that you were going more towards the arts and kind of wanting a career in that?
When I was a child.
Oh, wow. So you
Yeah,
kind of
I've
been
always
into it.
known, and I was lucky to have a mom that like fostered and supported that, that allowed me to be the artist I am.
And my last question for you is, what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
The best advice that I've got is to live, love, and laugh.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
Althea Cunningham, hi.
And can you tell us a bit about yourself, Althea?
I am a multidisciplinary performer here in town. I work as a musician, singer-songwriter, theater producer, arts educator, and a writer and an actor as well.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
you do everything.
I do a little bit of everything, yeah.
And so what kind of got you into the arts, kind of focusing on singing?
Oh, my goodness. Well, you know, when I was little, I opened my mouth and realized I could actually sing and make a lot of noise. So that happened. I started singing in about grade 6. Oh, wow. So music is my first art form. So I'm just sort of looping round back to it. I've been out of it for many years. So I'm just like, it's exciting to be back in music.
That is very exciting.
Yeah.
And so what are you performing at the festival?
Oh, yeah, I'm performing a cover tune called Body in the Box. It's a cover tune by the band City and Color. Yeah.
And how would you describe your style of art?
You know, I have such varied tastes as an artist myself. I would say that, like, most of my music is going to come out sounding like soul and R&B. Definitely with some like neo-soul influences there. I'm all over the map in terms of musicians that I like, because I think I like pretty much everything with the exception of maybe like hard punk or like hard thrash metal,
Yeah.
right? So I would say singer-songwriter type vibes, neo-soul, yeah, R&B, yeah.
And is this your first time at the SKIRTSAFIRE festival?
Oh my goodness, yes. You know what? I've attended the festival once, and now this is a chance to actually perform at the festival, which I'm looking forward to.
So how are you feeling? Are you nervous? Are you excited? A bit of both?
Oh, I'm nervous like a bag. I really am. Sorry, I probably can't swear on camera.
That's okay.
I am totally nervous, but it's a busy week for me. So yeah.
Kind of nice to keep busy, kind of forget about it.
Yes, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so how do you get ready for a show? Is there anything specific you do, or?
Yeah, you know, I coupled with a vocal warm-up, I usually do a little bit of yoga just to stretch my body and get the nervous system back to where I like it to be. And then a really good vocal warm-up and massaging of the fingers. Massaging of the fingers and just being gentle with my hand and just preparing her for performance. Yeah.
And so what would you say is the most difficult aspect of performing?
I think for myself right now, I'm having some vision issues beyond my control. So it is highly, highly frustrating for me to like sit down and just try and read the music. So that's challenging, yeah.
And so on the other side of that, what would you say is the most rewarding part?
I've got to say the most rewarding part for me as a songwriter is seeing people sing along to my original songs when I do them. And I'm just like, oh, wow, you know, it's like, it's amazing because you never really know what sort of impact you have on an audience member. So that's one of the most rewarding things for me. Yeah.
And so
just
as
getting to share,
Yeah.
to share the music with folks, right? So
something so personal to you that you're able to kind of break off and share with everyone, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so how do you hope that people feel when listening to your music?
I hope they can just, for a few minutes, just forget your troubles, forget your worries, and enjoy the gift. It's I always think of it as an energy exchange, right? I give to the audience, they give back to me, and back and forth. It's kind of like tennis in that way, you know? So, that's
That's a very beautiful way to put it, because there is some songs that just kind of touch your soul more than others.
Oh, yes. I agree. I totally agree, yeah.
And so when can people come and see you perform? What days are you performing?
Oh, I'm performing tomorrow night as part of the A-Line Variety Show. And I believe I'm 8th on the bill.
Nice. And so my last question for you is going to be, what is the best piece of advice you've received throughout your life?
I think for me, the best piece of advice that I've gotten over the years is know the songs and know them well and know them inside out. I was given this advice by I can't remember if it was a college professor or someone that I played in a band with shortly after university. But one of the pieces of advice I was given was, even if you're not singing on the song, listen to the song so you can learn the form.
Okay.
Right? Just so you know where all the breaks are. And I love that advice, because if I'm struggling with a song still, I'll try and get an instrumental version of it and just listen to it. Or I'll listen to it with the original artist as well. Yeah. That's the best piece of advice I've gotten.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Thank you.